Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel Simplified Basic Concepts. In this video, I'm going to discuss about planning process. This is the third video of the planning series. In the first two videos, I have discussed about the planning, its characteristics, importance and types of plans. The contents, that is the topics which I'll be discussing here, is steps of plannings and limitations of plannings. So these are the steps of plannings. That is, the planning starts with perception of opportunities, then setting of objective is done, then follows planning premises. After that, identification of alternatives is done, then evaluation of those alternatives are done, then the best alternative is chosen, then the formulating plans are made. Finally, the budgets are made and the plan is implemented. And the final step is to keep the plan monitoring. Right? So let's begin with the first step of planning and understand all the steps one by one. So perception of opportunities means understanding of the opportunities, that is being aware about the opportunities which are available for a business organization. So the planning process begins with the analysis or understanding of the opportunities which are available. So perception of opportunity includes a preliminary look at the possible opportunities which are available to the organization. This step gives the managers an understanding and estimation of the opportunities and analyzing them in the light of strengths and weakness of the organization for the purpose of utilizing them. The entire planning process is very simple because we keep on planning in our day-to-day life and we are using these steps. So the first step is to know about the opportunities which are available, and based on that only the plan will be made by the organization. An example of it can be, if the government wants to develop rural areas as industrial centers, a far-sighted businessman will think of setting up units suitable to that environment and will avail the facilities offered for this purpose. What the businessman can do, he can know about the opportunities which are available and accordingly make changes in his organization so that he can utilize or use this opportunity. Once the opportunities are perceived to be available, the other steps of plannings are undertaken. The next step is setting of objectives. Now, setting objectives for the entire organization and then for each subordinate work unit. The objectives specify the results that are expected by the organization. So the objectives basically indicates the end points, that is what is to be done by the organization, what is that which the organization wants to achieve after a particular time period, and where the primary emphasis is to be placed, and what is to be accomplished by the network of strategies, policies, procedures, rules, budgets and programs. We know that strategies, policies, procedures, rules, budgets and programs are types of plans which I have discussed in my previous video. So objectives clearly give an idea to the organization what it actually wants to achieve. When the organization is aware of the opportunities available, in that light, along with the strength and weakness of the organization, particular targets are being set for the organization to achieve. These targets are called as objectives. Now, organizational goals or objectives provide direction to and control the objectives of the subordinate departments, right? Due to which there is a hierarchy of objectives in the organization. The main objective for entire organization is set. Based on that, different departments set their departmental objectives, which will help the organization on a whole to achieve the objectives, right? Now, after this, the third step is knowing about the planning premises. So planning premises is nothing but study of the external and internal environment, that is study of the business environment. Now I have discussed in my previous video about business environment that business environment means those factors which can directly or indirectly have an effect on the functioning of the business, and this effect can be positive or negative, right? So study of those factors comes under planning premises. Here planning premises means the boundary under which the planning is to be made. Premises means the boundaries. So the boundary under which the planning is to be made by the organization is known as planning premises, and that can be done when it is very clear that the factors which will be affecting the business, what impact those factors will have on the business organization. So here we will be studying about the external and internal environment. Now external environment and internal environment both have impact on the business, right? External environment includes the economy in which the business is operative, the national income, availability of the natural resources, political, social, legal, technological environment, competitors' plan, about the customers, about the mediators, suppliers, etc. And the internal environment includes availability of the workforce, the corporate culture, the organizational structure, availability of the funds, cost effectiveness, brand strength, market share of the organization. Now these factors will have both the internal environment factors and external environment factors will have an impact on the business. So while making plan, the boundaries within which the plan is to be made should be known beforehand, right? So planning premises basically analyzes the strengths, weakness, opportunities and threats in the organization and out of the organization. Now after knowing these things, the fourth step is identifying the alternatives. So here the available alternatives are being identified. Now till the third step, a business is clear that what are the opportunities available, what is the boundary planning premises under which or within which the plans are to be made, and what is the effect of different business factors on the business, and what is the effect of different environmental factors, that is business environment, on the business. So after this, the objective is being set. Now when the objective is being set, there are different ways of achieving that objective. So the different ways are being identified in the fourth step, right? So here identifying alternative means finding out different ways how the objective for the organization can be achieved. For example, if an organization has set its objective to grow further, it can be achieved in several ways, like expanding in the same field of the business or product line, or diversifying in other areas, or it can also join hands with other organizations, right? So growth is the basic objective, and these options are the different alternatives by which the growth can be achieved. So here all the alternatives which can help in achieving the objectives are being identified. Now, one important point to note here is that the number of alternatives should be reduced to the most promising and fruitful ones by preliminary investigation. So, alternatives can be discovered through research, experimentation, and experiences. After finding out the available alternatives and analyzing their strong and weak points, the planner must evaluate the alternative in the light of premises, that is planning premises, and the objectives which are being set by the organization. So at this stage, an attempt is made to evaluate how each alternative contributes to the organizational objective. However, the problem here is that no alternative is perfect. Some alternatives have positive points, however, they also have negative aspects. So it becomes very hard for the evaluator to find out a perfect match, that which objective or which alternative will be most suitable. Well, some alternatives may appear to be very profitable, but they are too expensive. However, the less desirable alternative may be very efficient. So now it depends on the planner to choose which will be best suitable as per the organization. Hence, effective manager evaluates the alternatives against the consideration for feasibility and consequences. Feasibility means achievability. That is, the alternative which is being selected should be achievable, and the consequences or the results which it will be giving, it should be fruitful and relevant to the business. So for evaluation of the alternative, statistical methods and computers are used, right? So after evaluation, choosing of an alternative is done. Now this is the point of decision making. The evaluation of the different alternatives are done. That is, certain points are being given to various alternatives, and based on that, the manager or the planner will choose the best alternative. That is the best option, the best step by which the organization can achieve its objective. Sometimes a manager may decide to follow many viable, feasible or sufficiently realistic courses rather than one best source. And why they do so? Because a course of action chosen may not be the best one if there is change in planning premises. So alternative course of action known as contingency plan is to be undertaken in future. Now we have read in the chapter business environment that business environment, that is the factors which are affecting the business, are very dynamic, complex and interrelated. So it is very hard to predict how an environment, that is the factors, are going to behave in future. So if the factors changes, then they will have an effect on the business organization. That is why along with main plan, alternative plans are also chosen, so that if there is any change in the business environment which may affect the business, then the alternative plan can come into use if the main plan will not work. After the main plan is adopted, it is necessary to develop other derived plans for each segment, that is for each department of the organization, that will help to support the major plan. So when a major plan is being made, that is the plan for the entire organization. So to support that, every department will accordingly plan for their department, so that they may help the organization on a whole to achieve the plan, right? So middle and lower level managers must draw up appropriate plans, programs and budgets for their subunits, that is departments, and these are described as the derivative plans. So the plan which will be helping the main plan is called as derivative plan. So the plans for the departments are called as derivative plans. In developing these derivative plans, lower level managers take steps similar to those taken by the upper level managers, that is selecting realistic goals, accessing their subunits particularly to the strength and weaknesses, right? Now example of derivative plan can be planning for buying equipments, for buying raw materials, recruiting and training personnel, developing new product, etc. Now, we saw in the previous example that if an organization has an objective of growing, right? So the objective for the organization is growth. So as per that, there were several alternatives by which the growth can be achieved. Now, there were 3-4 alternatives which were explained in the previous example. Now, from those alternatives, the planner or the manager of the organization chose to diversify its product line, that is to add more product in the business organization so that it can grow. Now, the plan is being set, the objective is being set. Now, what the departments will do? The HR department will start recruiting and training more personnel. Why will they do so? Because they know that the main plan of the organization is to diversify, and for that they will be adding more products, so they need more people, right? So the HR department will start recruiting and training more personnel. There will be more buying of equipments and raw materials by the production department, because they know that when more products are to be added, then they need more raw materials and equipments to produce those products. And the marketing department will start developing new product strategies. So we saw here objective being set. As per that, a main plan is being adopted. Now, to support the main plan, all the departments make their own supporting plans, and this supporting plan is called as derivative plan. Right? Now, after derivative plans, the budgets are being made. And yes, one shouldn't get confused between the contingency plan and a derivative plan. Contingency plan is an alternative plan. That is, if the main plan will not work due to certain business environmental changes, then there comes the use of substitute plans. However, the derivative plans are those plans that will be helping the main plan. That is, it is derived from the main plan. Right? So, contingency plan is a substitute plan and derivative plans are helping the main plan and it is derived from the main plan. Now, budgets. Without budgets, plans cannot be executed. They become merely paper exercise. That is, nothing is possible without money, right, in business. So, budgeting, which means in financial terms, we need to convert the entire plan, which was theoretical till now. So, to implement it in organization, we need to know how much money it requires. That is what budgeting means. That is, to allocate the fund which this plan may require to become operational. So, budget department decides how much money can be spent on this plan. Hence, as a part of plan, budgets are passed to make provisions for the cash and capital expenditure. So, budgets are nothing but expression in numerical terms. So, budgets are generally financial. And it is very difficult to separate budgeting from the planning process, because the planning will remain theoretical till the time we do not add monetary value to it. Because till the time we won't add monetary value to it, we won't be able to know after becoming operational how much money we need to invest on that. Right? Now, the budget is being added, so the final time has come when the implementation of plan is to be done. That is, the plan becomes a reality when it is put into operation. And this involves converting it into the action. That is, till now, all the paperwork was done, everything was done, budget is allocated, and now it's time for action. That is, whatever is being discussed, it needs to be implemented in the organization. So, this implementation of the plan is this step. Right? Implementation means that the resources will be allocated and the employees will start acting accordingly. It requires the use of other management functions such as organizing, staffing, directing, and controlling too. Effective implementation of a plan requires managerial coordination and teamwork. The entire organization should start working as a team so that the plan may effectively achieve its objective. And the last step is monitoring the plan. The process of controlling or monitoring the plan, that is keeping a check whether the plan is moving in the correct direction as per the expectation of the organization or not, is known as monitoring the plan. So the process of controlling is a critical part of any plan. Managers need to check the progress of their plan so that they can take whatever remedial action is necessary to make the plan work, or change the original plan if it is unrealistic when they actually implement it and find that it is not working accordingly. Right? So with this we come to the end of the process, that is steps of planning. And now we'll discuss about the limitations of planning. The first limitation is lack of accurate information. In planning, there is most of the time lack of accurate information, and if reliable information and dependable data are not available, planning is surely to lose much of its relevance. So the informations, if they are not accurate, then there will be not much benefit from the planning process. And the major crux of the planning is to predict future. So it depends mostly on the informations. Secondly, planning is a complex process and expensive one. It demands detailed and serious thinking, tremendous hard work from the planner, and it is very time consuming. So one needs to be very dedicated and do a lot of research before planning, right? The third limitation is rigidity. Rigidity is another limitation of planning due to the pre-decided course of action. That is, whatever is decided, the employees cannot deviate or change or take another steps from it. So it is very rigid. Once the plans are framed and put into action, the employees or the planner cannot change it to an extent. This may curb the employer's initiative and individual freedom. Planning reduces creativity. Now, when there is rigidity, so certainly there will be reduction in creativity, right? Usually, plans are drafted by a group of people at the top level of management, and the employees are neither consulted while drafting the plan nor they are allowed to deviate from the framed plan. So this reduces the creativity and the desire to be innovative among the employees, which will certainly demotivate the employees. Planning is time consuming and expensive, as discussed earlier. In planning, data needs to be collected, detailed analysis and interpretation is required. So this process requires considerable amount of time and cost, right? And finally, planning does not guarantee success. Plans may be drafted very carefully, considering all the business environmental factors, yet due to the dynamic nature of business environment, the plans may not give the desired result. Dynamic means which keeps on changing. So here the business environment keeps on changing, so the factors can adversely affect the business. So the plan at times may not give the desired results. That is why it's said that plans always do not guarantee success. So with this, we come to the end of this topic. Do like and subscribe my channel, which is Simplified Basic Concepts. Thank you.